We go. Welcome on in here on this Thursday in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents. Hey, howdy. Get on in here. Lots of ways for you to be a part of the show here today. Live with you for a couple of hours on the radio. Beaver's here. Beaver is here. We'll check in with him in a bit. But you know, it's one thing for us to be here. It's a whole different deal when you're here listening. Therefore, we have a reason to be here. And I hope you'll grab the mic and let us hear what you have to say today also. There's lots of ways to do that. Okay, you can comment on the live stream if you're on YouTube or Facebook or X, formerly Twitter. Feel free to comment there. Just type it in, post it, and then I'll see it. We can pop it up on the screen there on the social media live stream. And if you're on radio or anywhere else, you can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Don't text and drive. Dangerous. Otherwise, text away. The number to text is 885-3776. 601 number 885-3776. You can also call me on the Davini phone, Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. The number 897-1059. 601 number 897-1059. Yesterday on the show, I had one of those, several second delays down the line to Beaver. Made it hard to talk to him. And we're only on for an hour. It made it hard to talk to him. Let's talk to Beaver right out of the chutes. Why not? Where's my thing here? Here we go. Happy Thursday, Beav.
You too, Matt Wyatt.
How's life?
It's just fine. Just fine.
Yeah. Trying to think, what day was it? Was it Tuesday when I was down there? We had a whole hour of non-sports. I think it was. It wasn't 2 hours of it. It was a whole hour of it. You know what else I'm picking up on, Beaver?
What?
People are trying to copy us in that.
Go on.
Mm-hmm. I'm just noticing it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. All I want to say is I've noticed more and more outlets, specifically sports, Beaver, that they're doing less sports and they're doing more food. Food and quote unquote other stuff. Yeah. I've just been noticing that. I think what we've run into, Beaver, here, like on this show, is that food is very popular. Have you noticed that?
People like food.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just saying, I noticed it. Noticed that. So, plans for the weekend? I mean, I know it's only Thursday, but Friday will be here before you know it. This time of year, do you make plans on the weekend? What do you do?
No, I don't. Well, I certainly don't have anything.
Mm.
I mean, there's a wrestling pay-per-view. Everybody loves that.
How much does that cost?
Well, they're on Peacock these days, so it's whatever your subscription. You can get it as low as $6.99
for the month.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would get you access to the wrestling.
Yeah, they have all the wrestling, which is really good because pay-per-views in the way they used to exist were they used to be 40, then I think they went up to 50 eventually. So instead of paying $50 to watch your one wrestling event, Peacock, you can pay your $7 and you can watch everything they have.
Okay.
You can watch The Office and you can watch New Girl and Superstore and WWE stuff and
okay, and
whatevs.
I'll say this, obviously since Peacock is an NBC thing, but it is good. It's got, I think partly you named a couple of them there, Beaver. But over the years, if you go back over the last 40 to 50 years, NBC had lots of great shows, right? So now if you subscribe to the Peacock app, you can go back and watch any of that stuff on demand. We have it. Columbo. Did I tell you how we got into Columbo recently? Did I tell you about that?
I think you did, but I don't remember.
Okay, so even Mary Liddy, we've gotten her to watching it with us some. Okay, and it's just incredibly well done. And the shows were long. What was it, 7, 8, 9 seasons, whatever it was, with Peter Falk as Columbo. And they're great. And so that's one. We went back and we've been watching Columbo every now and then on the Peacock app. Tell you what else I got into, Beav, and I've never really talked about this show with you, but I got a sneaky suspicion you enjoyed it. King of Queens. Did you ever watch King of Queens?
I never watched it while it was going. I've seen reruns.
Yeah. You know, I think I got it some while it was going, but for whatever reason, it's a little bit like Seinfeld. Now that I'm going to it as an adult, it's a lot more funny to me than it used to be. So I'm watching King of Queens on the Peacock app. It's really good. And I think the best thing about it to me is you can go back and get all the old stuff that you thought's gone and it's just there. You're right, it's not that expensive. That's the Peacock. Does the other networks, CBS, ABC, do they have versions of, like, their own versions of that kind of thing? And if they do, what's it called?
Yeah, CBS has Paramount Plus.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Isn't that the one that carried some sporting events here recently?
Yeah.
I think they did. And I guess what? ABC, do they have one?
ABC, their stuff is on Hulu.
Hulu? Okay. And I was wondering if Disney, because ABC and Disney are the same company, basically, right? So I guess a lot of, but not TV shows wouldn't be on the Disney app. Full disclosure, Beaver, do you have the Disney app at your house? No. You don't?
Never. Have no desire to ever have it. Yeah. I am not a fan of Disney.
Not a Disney fan?
Mm-mm.
I don't think we have it anymore. We used to when Lydia was small. But, she's 13, but, she's an itty bitty kid, but not anymore, I don't think. Hey, look at this, Beav. Look at Nick's text over here on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves. Nick says, I had an aunt who was obsessed with wrestling back in the 80s and 90s. She bought every pay-per-view and recorded it on VHS for me. I had all the SummerSlams, Royal Rumbles, WrestleManias on tape. What's funny about that, Nick, is like I can associate, like for me, though, it was always sporting events. I was always recording usually college football games, the occasional Chicago Bulls game or something like that on VHS tapes. By the time I graduated high school, I had this giant cardboard box full of VHS tapes that I'd recorded football games on. And I'd watch them and watch them and watch them and watch them. And, learn from them. But I had the experience. I think it was I had recorded on a VHS tape the 1992 Alabama versus Miami national championship game, in the Superdome. The George Teague game, the Gino Torretta deal, the shutout and all that. I had recorded that, had it on VHS. Several years later, come home. I think it was in the summer. I'm home from college. I was going to pop it in and watch it. And I hit play, and it's like I got Keith Jackson in the intro of the game, and then you know how the old VHS tape would have the lines on it? All of a sudden, the lines took over the screen, and then it cut to like some 2-hour soap opera special. My mom had recorded over it. No joke. You just grabbed the nearest tape, and it happened to be the 92 national championship game, and she recorded over it. The whole thing. No kidding. And I think like maybe the post game was on there too, so I lost that one. Recording stuff on VHS, good old VHS back in the day. B, did you record things on VHS back in the day? Movies and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did too.
We did the classic thing where you set up 2 VCRs so you could record. You rented a movie from Alfalfa Video, and you played it, and then you recorded it onto another VHS on your other VCR.
You're making copies. That's funny. Hey, and I think we talked about this before too, but do you remember, you probably are too young to remember this, Beav, but just before VHS became a thing where everybody had VCRs and you were renting VHS tapes from the movie store. Before that, I don't even know what it was called. It was these big, flat, almost like a giant version of a floppy disk.
Laser disc.
Is that what it's called? Laser disc. Yeah, I remember us renting some of those. These huge things that would slide into this machine. It seems like you had to rent the machine too and take it all back to the movie store. Yeah. Okay.
And at one point, that was supposed to be the next big thing too. I do remember people talking laser disc was going to be, that's where it's heading. Laser disc's going to be huge.
Did not last that long. Because, I mean, VHS really did take over. I got to say, Beav, okay, here we are on a Thursday. I didn't mean to. Wrestling got us there, and then Nick's text got me here too, but I didn't know we were going to talk about this. But so the whole experience of, as you said, going to a store to rent movies, I used to really look forward to that. I enjoyed that. Now, I have really never enjoyed much of any other kind of shopping, but to go into Blockbuster, I always enjoyed that. And there was a couple things about it. Is one, Beav, you would not only rent the movie, okay, you'd have all these movies, you'd hope the one you wanted to see was in there if they had a copy of it left. And, you know, you're perusing around through the store and and, you know, looking and the idea that you might discover what looks like a cool movie that you didn't even know about, and you could, you know, rent that. I enjoyed that. Okay. And then you would also if you wanted to, Beav, buy the popcorn that you were going to eat during that movie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I specifically remember buying the microwave popcorn bags there, but I don't know if they sold any other kind of popcorn or not. But they sold all kinds of candy and other junk, like going to the movies. If you're going to take all that home, I used to enjoy going to Blockbuster. And then there were inevitably too, Beav, you know, what was the name of the one you mentioned?
Alfalfa.
So was that local or a brand or?
I guess it was a brand. It was that was back in when I lived in South Jackson.
Okay.
That was our closest one. So that's just that's the only reason I have memories of Alfalfa.
Alfalfas. Beav, back in the day, and when I say back in the day, we're talking 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 25 years ago, okay? Before internet and streaming apps and Amazon and all this kind of stuff. Before Redbox. Isn't that what it was called? Redbox?
Yep.
Okay, before that, every small town, I mean, the really cool, unique, but tiny little towns that dotted the map throughout Mississippi. These towns, Beaver, that have a town square, you know, like in the middle of the square is the courthouse. Okay, and you have the town square that's a little, you know, strip businesses around the square. And inevitably on those town squares, there was always at least one business that existed that it was multi. This business would do several different things, but including you could also rent some movies in there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Let me give you an example.
I don't think so.
All right, so I'll give you an example. And I've seen this. I saw this a bunch of places. 25 years ago, Beaver, I was working for the TV station in North Mississippi, WTVA. And they had a series called the WTVA Traveler, where one specific night, every week, they had a whole series of stories and live broadcasts and live weather broadcasts on location from one particular town. Like this week, it would be Pearl, like I'm just using it, but they'd come to Pearl, they'd be downtown, and the whole newscast that night would originate from Pearl. You see what I'm saying? And ahead of that, they would send, the reporters and sports people to go dig up a cool story in that town and produce it to show that night on the news. And, one time I got sent to Houston, Mississippi. In fact, it was long before I really knew Annabeth, but her granddad, Bill Smith, was the mayor of Houston. And I met him because one of the first things I would do when they'd send me to these towns for WTVA travel, I'd go in a week ahead of time or 2 weeks and say, hey, we're coming on this day. Who should I talk to? What's something cool? I'd go meet the mayor. So I went and met him. And anyway, all that to say this, baby. On the square in Houston 25 years ago, there was a business there that you go in, and inside this business, they offered screen printing T-shirts. They could also screen print onto like promotional items, coffee mugs, Frisbees, things you want to give away. You see what I'm saying? Like screen printing. They also were a spot where you went to go visit the tanning bed. Okay. They had a tanning bed service in there. And before you left, you could also choose from 20 to 25 VHS movies that were displayed near the exit that you could rent those movies from that store as well. That's what I'm saying. It was kind of a catch-all. You could get a little bit of anything in there. And I ran into one just like that. I think it was Macon, in old downtown Macon. Same thing. There's one business. You could do about 5 different things, including rent movies out of it. Man.
You know what? I just had a memory.
Yeah.
Now that you've talked this through, I do remember back for a very brief time, Kroger in Brandon.
Okay.
They had they built out an entire separate movie rental area. And that's actually where I rented Tommy Boy from.
Is it really?
That's when I saw Tommy Boy for the first time.
Okay, you speak of Tommy Boy. When I was in college playing ball at State, our freshman year, our whole freshman class, freshman signees, we came in, we're all first-year players in 95, most of us redshirting, some of us not. The good players didn't. Like, my dorm room that first year was right across the hall from Reggie Kelly. Reggie was on the 4-year and then to the NFL plan. I wasn't. Okay, but anyway, in the dorm, they were all freshmen. And Rob Morgan, who's my brother-in-law now, his roommate was Jeff Walker, the punter. And he and Jeff rented a copy of Tommy Boy. And I swear to you, 5 years later, we're getting ready to graduate. They still had that copy of Tommy Boy. They never took it back. That was so. How long did you keep your copy of Tommy Boy from Kroger? Did you take it back?
I did.
Okay, good. You were good. You were a good citizen.
Well, because at that point in time, that was 7th grade, so it would have been up to Big L and Little C to cover the late fees. So I didn't want to run into that.
Yeah. No, you didn't want to run into that now. Mom and dad having to pay for your late fees because you wouldn't take a movie. That's not going to fly. And they sort of almost by osmosis, Beaver. There was this whole urban legend about how bad things would be for you if you didn't take your movies back. Like it was like they were really going to come down on you hard. Like if you cut the tag off the mattress. Remember that?
Yeah.
That put you in jail. PT for MSU texted the show. He said, it's hard to find these days, but my wife and I used to love to watch Rules of Engagement. It's an older sitcom with Oliver Hudson, David Spade, Patrick Warburton, and others. Really funny. I don't remember that show for whatever reason. I mean, I think I've heard the name, but the show itself doesn't ring a bell. All right, and now look at this. Humphreys County Dog, he sent me a picture grilling pork chops at the shop and the Matt Wyatt Show on full blast for everyone to listen to. And then he said, give me Brian O'Connor for the next Hail State skipper. So he's rooting for Brian O'Connor to take the job. Look at those pork chops. Man. I mean, as you say at the shop. So y'all eat like this every day? Man, look at that. Those look great. Big, thick pork chops. Call me next time, Humphreys County. We'll come. We'll get Bill to fill in the studio, and Beaver and I will come there. We hadn't done that yet, but we're going to do it one of these days. Yeah, Scott said Laserdisc was the new Betamax. You know, that's another term, Betamax. Heard it, rings a bell, no clue what it was. And again, like the Laserdisc thing, I remember I would have been 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there, when Mom rented those Laserdisc movies and brought them home for us to watch. But I didn't know they were called Laserdisc. I just remember seeing them, thinking, man, that thing's huge. It's like this big, huge plastic thing, and you have to slide it in that machine. Let's say VHS was a major improvement. All right, I'm coming to all your texts and your comments when we come back. We're just getting started with you here on this Thursday. So stick around. Back after this.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both. Break me off a piece of that. Look at that. What that is. That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com, at a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here and the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. Get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned.
They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the prairie wildlife.
Losing again. You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Here we go. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Let me come to your messages here. First up, Sven on YouTube said, Hail State, everybody. Two things. First, I never, ever saw such a bad umpire as yesterday's softball game. He said around 40 balls were called strikes. We need professional umpires. Secondly, he says Mississippi State is getting a brand new indoor football facility in 2027. Howard Senior, local company, gives around $60 to $70 million to make that happen. Yep, saw that, and it's a really cool deal. We'll get to some of the details and headlines coming up, but really cool for State. About time too, right? It's going to move things along. That's a huge, huge, huge construction project and deal as well, $60-70 million. And I guarantee your coaching staff were doing a bunch of high fives when that came down. Sammy on Facebook said he used to always rent Charles Bronson movies. Yeah, I'm not familiar with all of them, but I just know that Once Upon a Time in the West, that movie, but his character in that movie, just iconic, phenomenal. All right, Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says, what did I miss about wrestling talk? Well, what happened, Jason, is somehow, I asked Beaver if he had big plans. Not really, he says, but there is wrestling this weekend. It's pay-per-view, he says. I go, how much does it cost? He says it's on the Peacock app. We get to talking about old shows and how I watch, Columbo. Next thing you know, we're talking about that. But that was where the wrestling came in. Oh, and Nick said, and that's why we got to talking about recording things on VHS, is because Nick said that his aunt back in the 80s and 90s was a huge wrestling fan, and she recorded everything that came on with the VHS player / recorder in the house. And so he says, therefore, he never missed WrestleMania or anything like that. Kenny, don't call me Ken. He texted on the Country Pleasing text line, said, we used to rent the player and the movies from Kroger in the early 80s. He says they had about 20 movies to choose from on beta or VHS. He said that was a big Friday night. Go to Kroger, rent the movie player and the movies. So was it VHS? Or was it like we were talking about doing the laser disc? You rent the movie player and the movies. As a matter of fact, I may be off on this, but I might not. I think the first place I ever saw the movie Ghostbusters, not in a theater, I think it was on a laser disc in our house outside of Russellville, Alabama, a place called Duncan Creek. That's where I learned to squirrel hunt with my dad. I can see the room. Mom brings in that machine, goes to plugging it in the TV, and I watch Ghostbusters. All right. RT texts the show. He says, I'd like a double cheeseburger, curly fries, and Rodney Dangerfield back to school. We had a multitasking place called Hollandale Movie Rental. See what I'm saying, RT? You know what I'm talking about. And I guarantee you, in that quote-unquote movie rental place, there were other things you could buy in there, other services. You could probably rent a tanning bed, you know? I mean, I've seen it. J-Rock texted and said, love going to Blockbuster back in the day. Love going to Bebop Record Shop. Good memories. Okay. Let me check in with Beav on this. Beav, Bebop Records. It seems like Tupelo had one of those, but was that a chain as far as you know, a music store?
No, that was just here.
Oh, it was there in Jackson. Okay.
There were a couple of them.
Okay. Did you ever go to a Bebop?
Oh, yeah.
I figured you did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the one in Tupelo, I can't remember the name of it then. But, okay, I guess this was more kind of department store / chain-esque because for a while it was in the mall in Tupelo. This is 20 years ago. But it was a store called FYE. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for your entertainment.
Yes. The original acronym, FYE. You go in there full of cassette tapes and CDs and all that stuff. And of course, hey Beef, along comes the iPod. That was the end of that.
The iPod. You know, it's so funny you mentioned the iPod because the other day I was watching, there was an episode of Community, and let's see. So Shirley's husband was talking about, I'm still trying to get my speaker shop off the ground. And she said, well, you need to realize that 10 years is too long and that the iPod is never going away. And that episode was back in 2012, I think. Well, I believe the iPod has gone away.
It's gone. Hey, I guarantee you, Beaver, somewhere in this house, if I were to dig around in my house, I could probably find one. And let me tell you this, Beaver. Now, I have made a lot of dumb purchases in my life where I either got in a hurry or I was a sucker and I believed some sales pitch that I shouldn't have, you know, or I was just, I don't know, you know, got a little obsessed with wanting to have something in my hands and I thought it would be great. And turns out it was. I've made a lot of dumb purchases in my life, but one of the dumbest purchases I have ever made, and at the time it was expensive, was I bought that stupid little video iPod. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Beav, I am not exaggerating. It was only slightly bigger than a regular iPod, which was tiny. Okay. And the video screen on it, I am not kidding you, it might have been 1 3/4 inches wide. I'm not kidding you. That's how small it was. And I was convinced that it was at a time in my life where I was having to get on airplanes, you know, fairly regularly, especially during football season. And I'm bored on these airplanes with, you know, an hour, hour and a half, 2-hour flight, whatever it is. And I'm thinking that's the entertainment I need. I get it. And this is before my eyes went bad. Couldn't see it. You couldn't see it. Like thinking I'm going to watch a movie or something, or even a TV show on a little bitty, teeny tiny screen it's the size of a postage stamp. It's one of the dumbest purchases I've ever made.
Not only that, Matt Wyatt, but those things were so expensive at the time, too.
They were. Babe.
It was like upper echelon. You were the upper crust. Now, you paid your $400 for that thing.
Oh, so
then you had to
stupid.
buy everything through iTunes.
You're having to buy a movie for $12 to put it on there. Oh, it was so stupid. I bet I could find that stupid thing too. Useless. I mean, just learned a valuable lesson there, Bieber. You know what the lesson was? just don't spend money. Just don't spend it. Do
Keep
not
your money.
Keep it. The only thing you should be spending it on is food. Period. Don't buy clothes. Well, I mean, pay your bills, but don't buy anything because most of it is junk. I don't know how I could be so. That's one of those where when it was all said and done, I'm thinking, how could I have been so stupid? And then, Beaver, this idea of, well, I was really dumb to buy this, it becomes reinforced because nobody will buy it off of you. And then you're self-conscious because you're like, man, all these people are smarter than me. I'm trying to sell it for half what I pay. They won't even pay that for it. They know it's a terrible idea. Why didn't I know? Man. Beaver, have you ever made a purchase that was so bad that it bothered you for the rest of your life?
Nothing comes to mind, so I guess not for the rest of my life, but I've made purchases that I didn't feel good about for a number of months.
Yeah.
And then I just eventually made peace with it, but
yeah,
I know what you speak of.
Yeah. They say you live and learn, and then I'll sometimes wonder if I do. Paramount Outdoor Living text the show, Country Please, and text line said Western Auto and Amory had movie rentals. You hear that, Beef? Western Auto. You can rent a movie from Western Auto in Amory, Mississippi. I'm trying to think. Guaranteed. It is an absolute guarantee that in the list of movies you could rent from Western Auto in Amory, Mississippi would be movies like Top Gun, Ghostbusters, the aforementioned, and like big 80s. Go to a place like Western Auto in Amory, you're going to rent a movie. Guarantee you, Top Gun, Big, and Ghostbusters were on the rack. Guarantee. All right. I love the conversations we get into sometimes, and none of us, we totally didn't know we were or meant to, but here we are. All right, and I'll hit some headlines for you next in the sports world. Coming up, stick around. Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion, And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar, or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team here in Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, your local Farm Bureau insurance agents in all 82 counties around the state. Rebel John texted the show. He says, did y'all ever rent movies from Netflix through the mail when they first started? I never did it. I bet Beaver did that. I didn't have the experience. I certainly know what you're talking about, right? Like you'd do the order, send in the form with the money, and then in the mail comes a pouch with movies in it. Beaver, did you ever order movies from Netflix when they had to deliver them to you through the mail?
Yeah, I did it a couple of times. It was only because they offered a free. They offered 1 month free, but it was not the streaming. It was only you had to do the DVD.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I did that, and I would get a season of Doctor Who and watch it.
Okay.
Send it back, get the next season.
All right. So did they send you a pre-addressed pouch to mail it back in, or did you have to
Yes.
ship it? Oh, okay. So that helps. Anytime you got to send something back, that helps. You've already got the shipping label. They send it to you, makes it easier. Just stick it in the mailbox. Yeah, I mean, it's it's like remember the old Columbia House tapes and music and stuff when you were a kid, CDs or whatever, and you'd subscribe to it. What was that, like one of those pyramid schemes? Well, similar to it. But the deal was everybody worried they'd come after you if you didn't send the movie back or the music back. Let's see. Hunter texted the show, said, I love those mom and pop strip malls. They have it all. No kidding, man. I mean, to this day, you can walk 2 blocks. Anything you need done, you can get it done. On the corner, you can get new tires. 2 doors down, you can get Botox. True story. Oh, yep. Joe, I picked up on that too. Hey, Beaver, you're from around the way. Joe said, Beav lived in South Jackson, ... Don't mess with Beav. He's, tough as a pine knot. There you go, Nick. Nick said, I'm still waiting for Columbia House to send the FBI after me. Did you ever send them cash, Nick? How did you pay for that music stuff back in the 80s, 90s from Columbia House? How did you pay for it? Did you send cash? Or did you send the, oh, wait. What was it? You sent them a penny or something like that, and they send you the music and you just pay for it later? How was that ever going to work? Tyler on the Country Pleasing text line says, our rental place was where I paid for my pager service. There it is. Oh, yes. See what I'm talking about, Beeve? Tyler went to rent movies at the same business where he had to pay his pager bill in person. He said a big Friday night was Meat Lovers Pizzas from the Hut and movies from Rogers. A couple movies, a Nintendo game, and a buddy spending the night. I'm telling you, big time, man. Pizza and movies, staying up all night. Look, think about this. Think about this. I believe this to be a true story. Think about how many chain and non-chain movie rental places, small towns all across America, and they put a Little Caesars right next door to it. I mean, Tupelo was that way, and I'm not talking about the Blockbuster, but Tupelo had like a little locally owned movie rental house. Right next door to it was the Little Caesars. That one popped up in there. You get this pizza for like $3. And it's good. I like Little Caesars pizza. I'm easy to please. All right, over to the phone line, the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. We got a call from the MOORE. More Bully, what's up? More Bully, how are you?
Matt, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Hope things are going well for you.
Working man.
Attaboy.
You know?
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, man, I did all that stuff. The Netflix in the envelope, written Nintendo, Hollywood Video. Remember that one? That
yes.
was local. They were everywhere, though. Mm-hmm. In fact, I worked back in the day for Pizza Hut as a district person, and we would have deals with Pizza Hut. With Movie Gallery and Hollywood Video for like a free movie rental.
I had totally forgotten about Movie Gallery.
Yeah. I mean, that was way before Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You're right, yeah.
And then just like Walmart and those corporate people, they put them people out of business, man.
Hey, let me ask you another question. How many...
So Ricky had to get a new job. Go ahead.
How many movies have been rented with a Blockbuster card that was coming apart, and torn in half, and the edges were all frayed?
Yeah.
But man, I got my Blockbuster card.
DVD skipped and had scratches on it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it was brutal. How did we live back then? I mean, dang. Lead pencils and having to mail stuff back. Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And everybody's smoking. How did we live back then?
Right? Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's smoking. Lead pencils.
Yeah. I mean, in the car, too.
Windows up. Right? It's raining outside. Just smoke with the windows up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, do you have a candidate for baseball coach?
I mean, not anything different in my head versus what anybody else is talking about. I keep wondering, what are you going to do if Parker goes on a magical run? You've got to let that play out.
Oh, you're exactly right, man.
You've got to let it play out.
You think we're going to go after O'Connor?
Well, again, I'll say what I said yesterday, More Bullet. I haven't had anybody that would be, let's say, directly involved with the coaching search, bump elbows with me and say, hey, O'Connor, It's legit. It may happen. I've not had anybody do that. I heard like a good friend of mine called in, Craig. It was the first place last week. I heard O'Connor's name connected to it. And I've heard a lot of people talk, and I've immediately thought, oh boy, I mean, that would be pie in the sky. That would be phenomenal. But
yeah,
I don't know how realistic it is. I just don't have any idea.
Yeah, I don't know why I got so privileged to be in this Bulldog group that I'm in.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of Bulldog alumni, and I didn't even go. I'm just a big fan.
Yeah.
But they're kind of quiet too, and they're in the know.
Yeah. See, again.
So I don't know what's going on.
Well, I mean, I've just talked about it pragmatically here on this show, and that is, what if they just swept Kentucky? What if they do something crazy like sweep Ole Miss this weekend? And then what if they do something crazy like make a long run in the SEC tournament and then get into a regional? And what if they make a super regional? Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Maybe none of that affects how somebody would evaluate Justin Parker. But it's almost like, don't you have to let all that play out, see how it ends, and then you're making decisions based on all the info you have? That's just the way I look at it.
Well, I think that's only fair. And to me, what's going on, just from a bird's eye view, I think the kids had coach fatigue. Actually, they just weren't responding.
Yeah, it might.
And I think they have responded to him.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
And I kept picking up
as a seasoned recreational baseball coach.
And you're
hey, have a good one, Matt. Beaver, take care, brother.
You too, more bully. In his expert opinion, mine too. In my expert opinion. Jason is from northeast Mississippi. He said, if you've ever gone up Old 25 between Fulton and Belmont, we used to rent movies from the only gas station in between there, between Fulton and Belmont. And y'all, that's a pretty good stretch. I'm gonna be honest with you. And so Jason, who's from there, there's one gas station you can rent movies in there. He said it's right where you'd turn to go to Beaver Lake. Know exactly where it is. Res Dog, that's a funny way to word this. Res Dog texts the show and says, even though I'm old enough to have had one, I'm thankful I never had a pager. Man, if I can remember, I'll tell you a funny story about a pager. I didn't have one, but my dad did. When I was had first gone to college, and we were going on a fishing trip together one time, and he had me wear it for a specific reason. I'll tell you what happened. When we come back for hour number 2 of the show, I'm Matt in the Bureau, Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Y'all stick around.
Man, ever since Coach got his new phone from C-Spire, we're undefeated.
Yeah, he's been using it everywhere. Scouting other teams' game film at the store, watching strategy videos at lunch. He even records himself calling plays in the backyard.
Whoa.
Listen up.
Hey, Dad.
You can call me Coach.
It's amazing what C-Spire's nationwide 5G network can connect. And now, connect with your choice of free phone. C-Spire, inspired by you. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.
Kessler Prime and the Renaissance offers an amazing dining experience and mouth-watering steaks, 6 private dining rooms, and to-go and catering options. The bar opens at 4 at Kessler Prime with appetizers, and dinner starts at 5. Ask about their specials and book a reservation at KesslerPrime.com. That's KesslerPrime.com for the best mouth-watering steaks. That's KesslerPrime.com for a reservation.
When you put people first, great things follow. Brighter ideas, bigger successes. That's why Bank Plus puts customers first, with local banking decisions made by community-minded bankers. We're here to help our customers and communities grow. That's how we measure our value. Bank Plus. It's more than a name. It's a promise. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC.
Getting your car repaired is no easy task, and it takes someone with knowledge and certification. Clinton Body Shop takes pride in perfection and has more certifications than any shop in Central Mississippi. With 2 locations in Richland and in Clinton, their OEM factory certified staff is just a phone call away to restoring your car to its original condition. Learn more today at ClintonBodyShop.com or call 601-924-2159. Choose the team Mississippians have chosen for years with their car. That's Clinton Body Shop in Richland and in Clinton.
Do you need cataract surgery? Call Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries today if you need cataract surgery. From routine eye exams to making sure you can see the baseball or softball to cataract surgery, Eye Care Professionals has 2 locations on Lakeland Drive, one in Jackson, one Flowood Belle Meade. Eye Care Professionals is the place for cataract surgery. Eye Care Professionals, see the difference.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See for full details and disclaimer.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
At Davini, we are your hometown Kubota dealer. We're the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S. That means we've been doing it better and longer than anyone else. We have 2 locations in the metro area to serve you, Madison and Jackson. When I say hometown, it means something to us.
We are hometown. We are hometown. We are hometown.
We support our local schools, community organizations, and local municipalities. Shopping and keeping business local keeps our community strong.
We are hometown.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Arapaho traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. You know, coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
WRKS Pickens Jackson. We are good to go. With more of
The Matt Wyatt Show. Coming to you direct and live at the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are their home team here in Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, your local Farm Bureau insurance agents. Tyler with a very important reminder. Yes, indeed. Tyler, thank you very much. I had mentioned it in hour one. Attaboy. Very important reminder. Everybody, listen. Need you to stop what you're doing and pay attention. Tyler says today is the Thursday before Mother's Day. You better get on Mama's gift or else you're going to need to maybe rent a place to stay this weekend. Listen, don't let that slip. This Sunday, Mother's Day. All right? This is the Thursday before Mother's Day. Get out there. Cards, letters, gifts, special plans. Let's make sure we don't forget that one, okay? Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it. We had a whole movie rental conversation in hour one, and RT texted the show and reminded us that Blockbuster used to have a quality rating on their movies. New ones, used ones, and pray that they work ones. Yeah, you get some every now and then it didn't work. That was always a big bummer. It really was. Hey, and by the way, okay, if you're just tuning in, like RT and Tyler on the Country Pleasing text line is a good way to be a part of the show. You can just text this number, 885-3776, 601 number. 885 excuse me, 3776, 885-3776. Country Pleasing Sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. You know, out of nowhere last night, I flung a craving on something I didn't have from Country Pleasing. I don't know why, but I was looking at my air fryer thinking to myself, man, I wish I had some of those little pinwheels that they sell in there. You know what I'm talking about? The little strips, they're wound up almost like they're curled up like a cinnamon roll almost, wrapped up in bacon. I wished I had some of those. I don't have any. Anywho, text the show. You can call me as well on the Country Pleasing text line. No, I said it wrong. You can call me as well on the Davini Equipment phone line, 897-1059. That's the number, 601 number, 897-1059. Give me a shout or comment on the live stream. However you are, it's, you know, if you text or call or comment, that's how we do it in this digital age. It's the same as maybe seeing me and Beaver at the table. You just plop down. Just sit down and pull up a chair and join the conversation. We'll pour you some hot coffee in your mug from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. That right there is some breakfast blend from High Point Roasters in New Albany. Check them out online at highpointroasters.com. Order your coffee there. They'll mail it to you. Big 1 pound bags. They're roasted up there. Single origin from all over the world. Special blends, flavors they've come up with. It's really good stuff. Trust me on that. If you're a coffee drinker, you're going to like it. Yeah, Sven commented on YouTube. He's on the live stream on social over there. He says, I hope Jeff Levy gets another 2 years. This gauntlet of schedule, 80% of the SEC coaches wouldn't survive it, he says. It's just unfair what Sankey did to State. Now, what is the schedule? Here it is. Yeah, it's sort of in some ways inverse of what State had a year ago. But here we are. They're going to open at Southern Miss on the 30th of August. A week later, going to host Arizona State, playoff team from last year. Week 3, going to host Alcorn State. Week 4, host Northern Illinois. 4 non-cons, 4 weeks. One's a playoff team. One of them's at Southern Miss. Not necessarily an easy non-con, for sure. And then the conference schedule begins at the end of September. State hosts Tennessee on the 27th of September. And then you travel to A&M and travel to Gainesville, Florida, back-to-back weeks. Well, back-to-back games. I think there's an open date in between for State. But they do have a week of rest or a weekend of rest between those 2 road trips, A&M and Florida. Then the last game in October is you host Texas, the most expensive team in the history of college football. Then November, here we go. Here's the stretch. Travel to Fayetteville to play Arkansas. Then host Georgia. Then travel to Missouri. And by the way, if you go to that game in Columbia, Missouri, just get ready because the worst drivers in the history of the United States interstate system drive in Missouri. And they got Missouri tags. Just run, tell them I said it. It's true. It's by far the worst, all of them. And then, of course, the battle for the golden egg. It'll be in Starkville this year on Thanksgiving or the weekend after Thanksgiving. But good night. Southern Miss on the road, Arizona State at home, Arizona State playoff team, Alcorn State, Northern Illinois, and then Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss. You ain't woofing. That's a tough schedule, man. That's a tough schedule. They're all tough in varying degrees, but that is a tough schedule. There's just no way around it. How about we do some headlines, huh?
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank here in Mississippi. The Mortgage Man Group at mortgagemanms.com. Y'all tell Went I said, hey, Went. My man Went. All right. Headline number 1 from Starkville, coming in the summer of 2028, a brand new state-of-the-art indoor practice facility for football. They made the announcement yesterday. Howard Industries gave the lead gift to get this thing off the ground. Story itself over at hailstate.com said Howard Industries, a leading manufacturer of electrical and technology products, has provided the lead naming gift for Mississippi State University's new football indoor practice facility. AD Zach Selman made the announcement yesterday, pending IHL approval. It's at the June 2025 meeting. The new facility will be named in honor of Billy W. Howard Sr., a beloved alum, former student athlete, and pillar of the MSU community. So it's coming. And if I'm looking at these right, some of y'all may know better than me, but if I'm looking at it right, it is going to physically, geographically, it's going to basically be built on top of and encompass the entire practice field that is the turf field adjacent to the Leo Seal complex right now. Basically building it onto the, what would be if I'm getting this right, the northeast side of the Seal complex, on top of where the current turf field is that connects to the Seal facility. They're all going to build it right there. So it's going to take them a little while. 3 years from now, they're going to open the doors. I cannot wait. It is a huge thing for the program, for practices and development. Yeah, I mean, certainly maybe from an ability to attract some players, sure, but also just another feather in the cap of your coaching staff and a program. It signifies you got some support and some momentum. And it's just practically and in every other way, it's a really big deal for the program. So hats off to everybody who made that happen, and Mr. Howard and his family and Howard Industries. And then I wanted to give you this, headline number 2. An attorney in the legal case that is, it's basically this $2.8 billion legal case. It's the one that's reshaping all of college sports. It's the one that U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkins is going to rule on, and it involves the NCAA and all this kind of stuff. This attorney is saying that they're going to come to an agreement. They're going to reach an agreement with the NCAA that will solve in his words, the judge's concerns over roster limits. Roster limits being the issue that's delayed this final ruling by the judge. On and on and on and on. Well, here's what I wanted to pass along to you. Not that, they've talked about roster limits and what the effect of the ruling is going to have on, the current model. It's this. This attorney, his name is Steve Berman. Okay, so he's co-counsel for the defendants against, basically the NCAA in this case. Well, here's something that is a part of this. This attorney, Berman, also criticized Nick Saban after reports emerged that Saban, retired Alabama football coach, was trying to get President Donald Trump, to undo damage that he says has been caused by all of the money flowing into college sports. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Trump's considering this executive order. The idea is this executive order from Trump would call for some sort of structure around NIL. It's funny they call it NIL compensation now, and that's going towards players. And, of course, they can move around freely between schools. There's no transfer limits or nothing like that. So this attorney, Steve Berman, said he believed an executive order would be subject to lawsuits, quote, like there are against so many of his other executive orders. Berman went on to say, but here the question is, why does the president need to get involved? Berman said. Quote, just because Nick Saban thinks he knows better and resents change? This is a coach who made more money off of college football than any other coach. Did absolutely nothing to make it right for these student athletes. Why should he drive the president's thinking? Those are your headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group. The Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank here in Mississippi. Check them out online at mortgagemanms.com. Now, what do you think? Now seriously, what do you think? How's this land on you right here? What do you think about this quote from a lawyer? $2.8 billion lawsuit about paying the players. Challenge any sort of rule that says a player can't just freely transfer to any school at any time. So they kind of turned it upside down and have done it through the legal system. And this lawyer, $2.8 billion lawsuit, with a quote that says, why does the president need to get involved? Just because Nick Saban thinks he knows better and resents change? And then he said, this is a coach who made more money off college football than any other coach, comma, did absolutely nothing to make it right for these student athletes. Why should he drive the president's thinking? What do you think about that quote? A lawyer. Here's a question. He in an accusatory way, says Nick Saban made more money off college football than any other coach, did absolutely nothing to make it right for these student athletes. How much you think this attorney, Steve Berman, stands to make from this $2.8 billion lawsuit? Talk about leeching off someone else. And then has the audacity to ask the question about Saban, why should he drive the president's thinking? Yeah, why? A coach, multiple universities, multiple conferences, across 4 decades, who understands the game of football, who understands young people, who better than anybody else understands how to get them to improve and be better. Who certainly understands the locker room, who successfully put teams together and put more players in the NFL than anybody else. And this lawyer has the audacity to say Saban did absolutely nothing to make it right for these student athletes, while he's an attorney who's going to cash in off of litigating this? And you would ask why a coach who has spent his entire life and career in the game of football, and you question why he would help to drive the president's thinking on the game of football? Do you think Steve Berman, this attorney, is insinuating that he himself, an attorney, is better positioned to drive someone's thinking on all of this than Nick Saban is? That somehow Nick Saban made his millions more dishonestly in college sports than this attorney himself is going to? In fact, this same Nick, he's questioning this about this same Nick Saban, who Coach Saban has said he's not against players making money. He just wants rules and structure. Maybe, for the ones who, in fact, are paying the money. That would be what? Universities, the boosters who give the money, the fans who give their hard-earned money, some rules and some regulations that make sense for it. That's all he wants. Do you think the attorney on behalf of the plaintiff wants any of that? He doesn't want any rules or structure. All he wants is the ability to make the money that Saban was making. That's what this boils down to from the attorney standpoint. Yeah, we have an issue. And yeah, what was going on before didn't necessarily add up. That's kind of why we're here where we are to a degree. But I can tell you this. People like Mr. Steve Berman who've gotten involved in this, his goal is one thing: cash, money. Period. Cash, money. Let me ask you another question. Let's compare these two. Mr. Attorney Berman, who's popping off at the mouth about Nick Saban. Let me ask you another two. We're going to compare these two. If there were no cash money involved for Mr. Attorney Steve Berman, do you think he would really be concerned about making it right for these student athletes? What if he were doing it for nothing? What if he wasn't going to get it paid a dime? You think he'd really care about making it, quote unquote, in his words, making it right for these student athletes? And then I'll say this. You think Nick Saban, at this point in his life, for no financial gain whatsoever, none, not a penny, not a dime, is interested in making it right for student athletes? You bet he is. And you bet he would. Now, and look, I hadn't always been like a lot of these mushy head media out here who lap up any warm milk dripping off Nick Saban's table. I have criticized him at times. You know, again, he don't care what I think, and I don't care what he thinks. I'm just seeing it for the way I see it right now. But why am I going? Okay, here's what I'm telling you. Here's an example of why you are where you are. It is not primarily an issue of players earning some money or making some money off the sport that they're playing. That ain't it. Because most of the people at universities, coaches and stuff themselves, they're fine with figuring out a way to do it. Fine with it. Not a big deal. There is enough to go around. It is right they get some. But anybody with any sense will tell you it ain't going to work unless you have some sort of structure that makes sense for everybody. Right now, you don't have that. The only single solitary reason that these attorneys don't want any rules and don't want any structure is because that's the type of environment that their slithering behinds make the most money. And they are the ones driving the conflict. Driving the idea that there should be no rules and there should be no boundaries. Which you and I both know is asinine. Back after this.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. What that is. That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here in the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. Get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi, Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough.
All right, back with you. Staying connected because of C-Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C-Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. Who was it earlier? Was it Res Dog? Yeah, we were talking about pagers. Hey, hang on a second. Hey, Beaver.
Hey, Matt White.
So you were on the phone with More Bully when I read something about pagers. I think it was somebody who listens to the show. I can't remember who texted it in, but somebody said that Res Dog, okay. Back in the day, though, that he used to go, the same place where he rented movies is the place he had to go to pay his pager bill.
Oh, I was thinking, okay, Res Dog said he never had a pager.
Right. Okay, and that's when Res Dog said, even though I'm old enough to have had one, I'm thankful I never had a pager. Beaver, did you ever have a pager?
No, and I wanted one, and looking back, I absolutely wanted one simply because there were only a couple other people I knew, but yeah, I thought it would make me look cool. I had no business ever getting a pager because I wasn't really gone enough to warrant a pager. And the only people that would have paged me anyway was, Big L and Little C.
Yeah.
But then you got to find a phone to call back.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. I never had one, but I do remember in junior high, really wanting one.
Okay. Another question then. What year did you graduate high school again?
2001.
Okay. So did you ever go to high school with a kid who wore a pager?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did too, okay, B? We're talking early to mid-90s. All right, so I'm not quite a decade ahead of you, but still, I'm in high school, and I remember I never really openly questioned it, but so I kind of was like, yeah, whatever, because you're a high school kid, but at the same time, I do remember thinking, why does he need a pager? Why does this kid? I mean, I understand if you're a salesperson. Okay, you're a professional back in the day, and this was before cell phones. Why would a kid in high school back then need a pager, Beaver? Other than selling drugs, okay? Why would a kid in high school in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s need a pager? Maybe it was just to look cool. Beaver never had a pager, but wanted one. Beav, did you ever, though, have the use of one that you put on your belt for any reason at all?
No, because then, by then the cell phone, I got my first cell phone in 11th grade.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't really need a pager. Just call me on my phone.
Yeah, right. That's it. That's it. You getting out of school was coinciding with the time frame when we all started getting phones. Right there, early 2000s. Okay. Beaver, I never had a pager. I wore one time that I can remember. And this was right around 95 or 96. I was in college. I think that's when it was. I don't think it was early 2000. It might have been early 2000s. Tell you what, I think it was. I think it was right after I'd come back from Germany, because I'm adding it up now, because I had a boat. I was fishing bass tournaments and I had a boat. And I drove and pulled the boat home one weekend to Alabama to go fishing on the river, on the Alabama River, we're putting it in a place called Swift Creek outside of Prattville. And you go out towards the 𝗕𝗂𝗺𝗂 and go to the Swift Creek boat launch. We put in there. It's a place that Dad and I, we fished there a lot growing up. When I was little, we fished there a lot, crappie fishing and stuff. And you put it in Swift Creek and then go out to the river and then up or down the river and go in these sloughs and catch fish. And we'd done it before. And the deal was that when I left that morning, I wanted to go ahead and leave that morning and start off early, like at daylight. I wanted to be at the boat ramp putting it in. Dad, who was going to fish with me that day, he couldn't go that early. He had some other things he had to take care of first. And so the plan was, Dad said, here, just take my pager, wear it, put it on your belt, make sure it's on. Okay, you go ahead and fish. What I'll do is I will ring that pager, okay, when I leave the house. When you get that buzz on that pager, you'll see the number, you'll see the house number. That will let you know you've got about 15 minutes before you have to pick me up at the boat ramp. I'm like, yes, sir. He says, so that thing buzzes. You wear the pager, it buzzes. Within 15 minutes, meet me at the boat ramp and I'll jump in a boat with you and we'll fish. Okay, so I go to the river. I get there as the sun's coming up. It's foggy. You get that haze over the river. It's great. You got to be careful. Put your lights up. I start fishing. Well, at about 8:30 a.m., I've been fishing for an hour and a half by myself, and I don't have a pager normally. I never wear one, and Beaver, by this point, I have forgotten that I've got a pager on my belt. It's beyond me. My mind is somewhere else. I've completely forgotten that there is a pager hooked to my belt right here on the side. So at about 8:30, Dad buzzed that pager, rang that pager, and it started vibrating and buzzing. And anybody who ever had a pager knows it's not just a little, like now when your cell phone starts buzzing. If you've got it on vibrate. Bzz. No, this was, bzz. I'm talking, it goes to town. Me not realizing it scared the daylights out of me. I thought some bug or some creature had gotten hooked to me on the side and was vibrating and buzzing, and I'm slapping at it, trying to get it. I'm pulling my shirt up, trying to see if I've got, what in the world is, and then it dawns on me how stupid I looked on the deck of my boat, jumping around, throwing my fishing pole down, thinking I've got some massive creature trying to attack me over here on my right hip. And all it was the pager, Dad trying to let me know to come pick him up at the boat ramp. That's my one and only experience with a pager. And that was enough. I don't want that. I don't want anything hooked to me that, unbeknownst to me, is going to at any moment start going. I don't want that. All right, over to the phone line, the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Dog Tired in Florence on the phone. Thanks for calling, Dog Tired. What's up?
Oh, man, I was going to tell you guys about my experience with pagers. In my occupation, we were all the time trying to touch something electrical or whatever else. It seemed like it was always invariably, every time we touched something, that pager would go off, and we would think we were being shot.
I'm telling you.
So, yeah, every time. And then the other thing is people began to abuse that number, and then they would put 911 behind it to make it an emergency, and it was never an emergency. So,
well, but was it a legend, or they did it because a 911 call would be free if you called on if it said 911?
No. I'm saying no. They would send you the number, and then they would add the 911 as if it was an emergency. Yeah,
and it never was.
Never was.
Yeah.
So
I'm with
anyway, that's awesome. But anyway, you guys have a good day.
You do. Thanks for the call, Dog Taylor. Yeah, he's right. If you weren't used to it, you would thought something is shocking me. I'm connected to some electrical current over here. It's just bzzz, going to town. Unnamed texter said, "Good afternoon, Matt. Good afternoon, Beef. You're bringing up some good old memories." Said, "I had a pager and a bag phone with no car in high school." Now, hang on a minute. I can understand the pager, but how did you have a bag phone, but you didn't have a car? That was another one. Dad had an old pickup truck one time for work, and it had a bag phone in it, and it was hooked up to, like, it had service to it. And I had to drive that thing back to Starkville one time, and like for a week before I brought it back home, doing some car stuff. And he said, "Hey, I don't care what happens, don't use that phone. It's too expensive. The calls on it are too expensive. Don't use it." I said, "Well, like, what about an emergency or whatever, like flat tire or something?" He just looked at me. He goes, "Don't use that phone." In other words, you better FIO, figure it out, change the tires, walk, get some help, but don't be making phone calls on that bag phone. Just don't do it. I think eventually he said, just pretend that it ain't even in there. Just pretend that it's not there. All right. A little bit of time left with you here on this Thursday in the Bureau. That is the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau. Go! With the home team. Stick around.
With Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? Fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that, what that is. That's real green onion, like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, "Country Pleasing, please." They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It was 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here and the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. You get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. All right, back with you. So he said it was a bag phone that you could walk around with. I never heard of such. I missed that. Beav, help me out. A bag phone that you can walk around with?
Is it like was it like a Zach Morris style phone?
See, help me out. Okay, you're talking about it was big. He had one that was big, right? Big receiver.
Yeah, it was like big like a brick.
Okay, yeah. I remember something about that. But see, when I think of bag phone, okay, he did say it was one like Zach Morris had. Did Zach Morris have a bag phone?
Well, it wasn't literally in a bag. He carried it around like normal. But I remember in the early days, Little C had one of those phones, and it came in a bag. So It was technically a bag phone, but it was a big old phone like Zach Morris.
Okay, see, Bulldog Blitz says, you don't remember the bag phones? I do. I just only remember them in a vehicle, because the ones I remember being a bag phone, like it came in this black bag. You could zip it up. Inside of it was a little, the little keypad that had the dialer, and there was a receiver like a phone, and it was remote, but it would run off of your cigarette lighter. You plugged it in the cigarette lighter to power it in the vehicle. See, so I guess if you walked around with it, was it running off of a battery? Or did you have to, if you walked around with it, did you have to plug it in the wall? Okay, there's a picture of it. Yeah, it had a battery. Okay, I see it. So it's basically it's like a briefcase. It's like remember the old, people would walk around with a small laptop and a little briefcase-looking bag and plop it down and unzip it and fold it open? Similar deal. It had phone in it. And it ran off a battery. Okay, see, I missed all that back then. When I thought bag phone, I thought I could just picture it down the console of your vehicle, and it's got a thing plugged into the cigarette lighter. Over to the phone line, the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. Louvier on line one. What's up, Louvier?
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and go Saints. Yes, I am of the age where that was cutting edge technology. And you had to have a bag because you had to have the extra battery that was already charged, because those batteries didn't last very long. And if you were cruising around, the phone itself was nothing but a giant antenna. And, everybody was always worried about, the brain cancer that it was going to give you. The jury's still out on that. But that was the main tool of car sales guys. They'd go around, and buy the trade-ins from the new car lots when folks would come in, and they'd always be on the phone, and they didn't want to bother the dealership to use their landline phone. And that was the first. We call them satellite phones, if I recall correctly. Satellite phones.
Well, and see, when I hear the term satellite phone, what I think of is like maybe early 2000s when you could pay a pretty penny, and I guess you still can, to have a phone that is not connected to a normal cell network. It actually is connected so you could go to the most remote place on earth and still have a signal with it. Like the military uses it and that kind of thing.
Well, those brick phones came out like late 80s. And it was all the, wow, you've got that, you're really cool. A bag phone, you're right, had a phone in it with an antenna that flipped up and a power source that you plugged into the cigarette lighter.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bag phone. Yes, I had one of those too. I think I had more than one of those.
Was it for work?
Yes.
I got you.
Yes, and it was, what we thought was, this is the way that work has us tethered to them. We can never escape now. You can never take an afternoon off and put your feet in the swimming pool or take a walk in the. Nope, can't do that. You got to be in the car because they can call and you better be answering, because you can't say, "Oh, I was somewhere else." No, you weren't. The phone's in the car. You're supposed to be in the car.
That's great. Jason in Flagstaff.
Anyway, now I've got my handy-dandy pocket phone, also known as iPhone.
Yeah.
Also known as the way my wife has me tethered to her.
That's it. That's it.
Happy Thursday, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
All right, you too, Louvier. Thanks for the call. So Louvier, your phone is just a fancy tethering device. Is that what? Jason in Flagstaff said that he had bag phones when he first got in the Army, and the battery weighed 8 pounds. Big old heavy battery. And several people texting that you could charge them in the cigarette lighter. It had a battery in it, but you could charge it in the cigarette lighter. See, and I bet what it was is I bet the one Dad had, and that it was a cool old pickup truck, man. It was a black Dodge Ram something or another. It had the full camper shell on the back, and he hauled tools in it and everything, the different job sites and stuff, and the home sites and everything. It was always full of tools, and I love that old truck. And yeah, it had the bag phone in it, and it was always plugged into the cigarette lighter. And I bet the reason is either it didn't have the battery in it, or the battery was just dead and gone, and you had to keep it plugged up for it to ring or something. I bet that's what it was. I bet. Let's see. Coffee Norman says that he had an alphanumeric pager in 1998. He said it was big time. Texting before text. He said, ironically, my dad was still working then, not with me, but I had a communication pad at my office to send messages to such devices. Mom would call me and say, send your daddy a message that says, ding, 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 come home, or pick up milk on the way home. How about that? Texting before texting. And I've said this before, Norman. I remember this would have been like the first cell phone I ever had. I got it my senior year of college at C-Spire, which they used to be Cellular South back then. This would have been 99, and now they're C-Spire. I got that one. But again, it was I didn't really use it that much. I had a small plan on it. I had it in case I needed it. I think it was, I was always on the water somewhere in a boat. And the thinking was if it'd be handy dandy if it ever broke down, because maybe I could call somebody. But I never really used it that much. But then it was about 5 years later, around 2005, when I had a little, cell phone. I started using it more to make phone calls all the time, like everybody else was doing. This was about 2004. And a friend of mine that I worked with said, "Hey man, you got your phone?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Watch this." And he pulled his phone out. He's tapping away at the buttons on it. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, look at your phone. Watch this." And about that time, instead of ringing like on a phone call, the screen on the front of my little Nokia phone said, I had a message from him. My phone buzzed. It went bzz. It had a message from him, and it said, "Hey." It took him like 3 minutes to type HEY, because you remember there was like a certain number of times you had to hit the button to make it do certain letters. And it said, "Hey." And I was like, "What is this?" He said, "Hey, look, it's called texting. You send somebody text. They can read it. You don't have to actually call them." I say to him, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. I'm not sitting here typing up stuff, sending it to you. If I want you to know something, I'll just call you. I'm not going to sit here pecking away at that's dumb." Stupid. And then, here we are, Louvier, 20 years later. Tethered, texting, and fine with it. Fine with all of it. I know I am. Look, I will admit it. I don't care who thinks what. Okay, but I will admit it. As a dad and as a husband, like it's a super luxury that I can pull this phone of mine out, this iPhone from C Spire right now, and flip over here to this Life 360 app, and I can see just exactly, like within a few feet, I'm talking about, where my daughter is, or at least where her phone is, and where my wife is. And here's the thing about it. They're like me. They don't lose it and leave it laying around. They got it with them. Right now, I can tell you which classroom my daughter is in at her school. And like, I get to wonder, like, let's say if I'm in, one part of the house and I get to wondering where Annabeth is. Is Annabeth here? Did she leave? I can look. I don't even have to call her. I can just look. I can see on there where she is. I'm not ashamed of it at all. And they can see where I am. Well, there you go. You just never know what we're going to get into here on this show. For Beaver, I'm Matt. All of us here in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Appreciate you being here, and I hope we'll get together, do it again tomorrow. Same time, same place. We'll see you then. See ya.